I'm Marcus Coward, and this is Wake Up New Bedford, and I am here with Josiah Cordero. Josiah, thanks again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And so, we were just talking a little bit off camera about New Bedford and in all of its positive lights. With any city, there's going to be struggles and crime and, you know, people maybe hustling in the wrong way, but really we were talking about how some successful people, once they make it out of here, they say, I don't know, it's tough to come back. Even though it's home, you know, there are just some negative things that may want to deter them from coming back. So in your path, do you see, is the end goal essentially making it at some point and then maybe leaving to go somewhere else? Is it the dream to live somewhere else, maybe California or Florida, or do you see yourself staying in New Bedford?
So I think that's all perspective based, right?
Sure.
So let's say, for example, you could think that whatever you want, essentially. So say, for example, you live in New Bedford and you hate the city. You're like, I hate it here. It's this, it's that. And that's what you're going to attract, is all that negative drama and all that negativity.
Sure.
I love New Bedford. I love investing in New Bedford. I think there's tons of opportunity here.
Yeah.
Personally, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to build and buy and grow my portfolio in New Bedford. That's just the area I know, and kind of grow and go from there. I don't think it'll be possible for me to ever fully leave New Bedford, even if I wanted to, just because I have, you know, a lot of assets and I'm anchored to New Bedford, so it'd be very difficult for me to up and just leave. Fully, I should say. You could always get a property management company or whatever.
Yeah.
But I personally love New Bedford. I think I'm here for a long time. So.
Sure. And so, you were talking about your business of buying and selling property. So are you a landlord?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I own a few properties. I do the property management myself.
Okay.
I'm also a real estate agent with Remax Vantage, so
Okay.
I buy and sell there as well.
Which side do you enjoy more? A real estate is, so I guess on the property management side and the real estate side, which one takes more of your time and do you enjoy more?
I love both sides. So
Okay.
I have a few tenants that have been with me for multiple years, and I like to see them grow and progress. So I have a few young couples that now they have children, or they're looking to buy their first property, so now I can help them. And I've had a lot of people, my tenants love me because I'm a good landlord. I'm very responsive. So if someone texts me in the middle of the night, I'm going to send someone right away for a pilot to be turned back on, right?
Wow.
Most people would say, hey, I'm going to wait till the next day. But I don't want cold water personally, right? You come home from work and you're gonna be taking a cold shower. To me, I don't like that, right? So I'm very responsive. So I've been very fortunate to have a lot of tenants that like me. Right?
Sure.
And I kind of communicate well with people.
Yeah.
And I understand people go and they have tough times, and a lot of people have nightmare stories. I've had a lot of nightmare situations as well, but it's all perspective based, right? So these people they're people as well. They go through life and they're having tough times. So I personally, there's a good and a bad, right? I don't like evicting people. Things have to happen, you know, but you kind of just make the best out of the situation. So I like both sides.
Sure. And I'm not surprised that these tenants like you. You're a very likable guy, and especially how you were talking about before with the dealership, as far as for keeping track of your customers and being responsive. That is a great quality to have in like either property manager or landlord, for them to be responsive. So you bring up a property management company. Do you feel like it would be hard to keep that same level of responsiveness and quality if you were to one day have a property management company?
I used to work for, I mentioned previously, I used to work for Domino's, and he had a large operation. And from there, I kind of learned there's a lot of processes and procedures that help you grow. So I don't think it'd be difficult to maintain that type of communication. Maybe in the future, and they might not be talking directly to me, but they'll be talking to one of my managers, and that will be one key thing that I'll stress is you need to be responding to people within the hour, for example. Right?
Okay.
That'll be one KPI I'd be tracking. So.
And so I've talked to other real estate agents as well, and they've talked about the struggles of creating boundaries. And so a lot of real estate agents are going to say that they have business hours and, you know, either if they go on vacation or like even at night, like they have time to themselves. Do you not feel like you need that?
I think that's a luxury, right? People get in contact with me 24/7, any day, anytime. I'm constantly getting back to people. I actually just had my second daughter.
Okay.
She's 6 months old now.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So
Yeah.
she's 6 months old now. I was in the hospital and they were taking pictures of us, you know, behind the scenes. And you could see me in the background on my phone talking to people because I got to get things done, right? So I enjoy that side of things, is talking to people, communicating. I get a thrill out of it, right? That's just me personally.
Okay.
But, you know, if somebody needs you, they need you, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so when it comes from learning about that thrill and about making a deal and communicating with people, do you feel like you have done any kind of learning by like reading specific books, or do you just do it mostly by like talking to mentors and learning from them firsthand?
I would say both. So
Yeah.
information is free. You could literally look up a YouTube video
Yeah.
and learn.
Yeah.
But I also pay for mentors and things like that from social media.
Okay.
I pay for audio books, right? I'm constantly trying to learn and grow as an individual because you're only as good as your atmosphere, right? So for example, if there's not people who are doing what I want to be doing locally, I kind of got to go out and get that influence another way, even if I have to pay for it or
Sure.
figure it out or listen to it on YouTube or an audiobook, etc.
Sure.
So I'm constantly on my AirPod listening to audiobooks and learning and kind of going from there.
So there's so many books and so many, I don't want to call them gurus, but we'll call them mentors online who offer the pathway to success. Could you recommend maybe one book and one mentor that you would recommend to people?
I would say Rich Dad Poor Dad is
I've heard of
really
that.
good book.
Okay.
There's also a game too that you can play. It's like similar to Monopoly, but it basically talks about the rat race and how to get out of the rat race.
Okay.
That's a really good concept for people to look into and,
Sure.
and kind of go from there. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon is another good book.
Okay.
That one talks about same thing, financial literacy and how to become financially free, basically. And believe it or not, I like to listen to sometimes Dave Ramsey. So he's got a lot of different.
I'm not familiar.
Dave Ramsey, he's the person that says you got to pay off all your credit cards, have zero debt, etc.
Okay.
But I listen to a few of his, most of the stuff that he says, I don't agree with. You know, like
Okay.
for example, he says you shouldn't borrow or use the bank's money. You should be, you know, zero leverage, basically buy a
Okay.
house cash, right? Buy your cars cash. So I've never had a car loan. So I actually used to own 2 car dealerships, and I've never had a car loan.
Okay.
So I agree with that. But as
Okay.
far as for leveraging debt, I think that's the main way to make money is leveraging debt.
Yeah.
You know, so like you could buy a property for $100,000 and only put down $20,000. Now you just acquired an asset that's worth $100,000 for pennies on the dollar.
Sure.
Right? I think that's another person I listen to. Grant Cardone is another one.
That name does sound a lot more familiar. Okay.
Yeah.
And so if we can talk about that car loan really quickly, because that was something I was thinking of, but why not get a car loan?
So everybody's situation is different.
Sure.
But if you have the independence and the liberty to essentially kind of hold off on getting a car loan and little by little save up and buy a car, even if it's a beater or a cheap car for $2,000, $3,000, and little by little save up your money, that's what I recommend to everybody. Just because with car loans comes interest.
Sure.
So, and a lot of people, when I owned a car dealership, I would constantly see the exact same situation over and over again.
What?
And it would be basically, there'd be 2 people. Number one, it'd be a person who has good credit, good income. They can put down the bare minimum. They can do whatever they want. They had multiple options.
Sure.
So banks favored that person. The interest rate was very low. And sometimes they would get the loan just to continue to build their credit or put down the bare minimum or pay half the car off and continue to build their credit like that. and then there'd be the other side, right, where it's somebody who doesn't know about credit, how to build their credit, they have a low credit score, and they're subject to these insane interest rates. So say if you buy a car for $10,000, after 5 years you end up paying double, right? So you end up paying $20,000.
Wow.
Half of it's going to interest straight to the bank, and the other half is going to paying off the car.
Yeah.
So I right now, I drive around a 2005 F-150. I bought the thing for $3,000, right? I've never had a car loan. I always buy cheap cars. The highest price car I've ever had that I've personally owned is like a $10,000 car. Personally, I don't think it's worth it. You're going to be, right now at this point, I don't think it's worth it for me, just because, like I said, you're going to be paying interest, or you can, instead of having that money sitting there in a car loan, you could have it reinvested and you could be making more money on the side.
But what about car repairs? Like, don't those get expensive with buying like cheaper cars?
Like I said, I grew up in the car world, so I kind of know what to look for, what to buy, what models to stay away from.
Interesting.
So obviously I'm not going to go out of my way and buy a Mercedes-Benz, a $3,000 Mercedes-Benz. Maybe I'll stick to Honda, Toyota, Acura, Lexus. Right? Or an F-150 is very reliable.
Really?
Versus like a Nissan Titan or something like that, right?
Okay.
So there's certain brands you want to stay away from because they're infamous for transmission issues, motor issues, things like that. So I kind of have experience in that atmosphere. Plus, I have a lot of relationships where if I have mechanical issues, I'll bring it to one of my mechanics and they'll take care of me. Right?
Okay, cool.
So
you know a lot. Like, it's crazy we're the same age, and I know some things, like, but as far as for, like, there's street smarts and there's book smarts, and I feel like you're a great combination of both. And that's just rare to find. So I just want to tell you that. But when it comes to financial literacy, what comes to mind? How do you define that in simple terms?
So I remember in high school, I had a buddy of mine who essentially he would rely on his parents, where every single dollar he got, he would just stack it away, and he was very, very cheap. And I remember I went to the store with him to the mall, and he bought 3 shirts. It cost him $45. Instantly he called his mom, "Hey, I just bought these 3 shirts. Cost me $45. I need you to refund me." Hangs up. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy, right?
Okay.
But he ended up growing a huge nest egg at a young age, and I realized that. I'm like, it was a very extreme thing where he was, basically leveraging his parents to save money, right? But I learned from that, what I took away from that was, wow, maybe I should be doing some of the same stuff, where he was a very extreme person, but that's where I kind of learned was from him. So, working my way up, buying, selling, saving. I always recommend people to do this. Say if you're in a rut right now, and you're essentially just, your head's right above water. You can barely save any money. Right? That's like the average citizen right now. They can barely save, $500 a month or whatever it is, right? What I recommend everybody to do, this is what I first did. You get your monthly expenses, you print out your bank statements, your credit card statements, and you start highlighting things, and you start seeing, what was this charge, what was this, what was that, and you start realizing what's important, what's not important. So say if you have $4,000 coming in monthly, right? You shouldn't have $6,000 going out every single month, right? So you got to run your life as a business. You got to balance the checkbook. You got to see how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, and you want to make sure that you have more money coming in than more money going out, which is like wicked basic, right? But a lot of people struggle with that. Most of the time you talk to someone, they haven't looked at their financial statement in years, if ever, right? It's super easy to print out your American Express statement every single month, your bank account statement every single month, and kind of go through it and say, why did I spend $50 on Cumbies, right? Where did I go there? Oh, I went there in the middle of the night, I bought Twizzlers and Pop-Tarts and this and that, whatever it is. I don't know what what people do, but I've seen that before. I talked to a friend of mine, I said, hey, print out your statement, let's go through it. Highlight, 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 highlight. You spend over $3,000 a month just on going out to eat. What's going on here? Start meal prepping, save some money, right? And that's what he did, and he started saving up. He ended up buying a 2-family right after that, like a year after that.
Wow.
Just from not realizing how much money he was spending.
Sure.
So.
Wow. And so when it comes to investing, would you recommend everyone to get into real estate, or do you need a certain kind of personality in order to do that, or would you recommend like the stock market? Like when it comes to investing, what would be, to someone who's never invested before, what would be the first thing you would recommend to them?
I would say if you've never invested before, first things first is, like I said, balance your checkbook.
Yeah, sure.
Figure out how much money's coming in, how much money's going out, how much money do you even have to invest, start saving, right? Put that on the side, maybe in a money market account for now, even though it's a low amount of interest being earned, but put it aside, work on your credit, get some good credit, and then once you're ready to start looking for a house, talk to a mortgage originator, get pre-approved, see more or less what you can buy, and don't max that out. So say, for example, somebody approves you for $800,000, doesn't mean you should go out and buy an $800,000 property. Maybe you could buy a $600,000 property and still get the same benefit.
Why is
right?
that?
You just don't want to be maxing out your lines of credit. So say, for example, in the future, if you want to buy another property, you're already maxed out. Or in the future, you might lose your job or you might get less overtime.
Sure.
So now you're relying on every single dollar that you're making
Yeah.
to pay off that loan. So I always recommend people to live within your means.
And then it gives you a cushion.
Exactly,
Kind of. Okay,
yeah.
I totally get that.
So the other thing I would recommend people to do is, I'm always a believer of multifamilies for your first property.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different rules that you can do. So like, for example, when you're buying your first property, you can put down the bare minimum. So you can put down anywhere between 0 to 5%, depending on what you qualify for. So
Sure.
VA loans is 0%.
Yeah.
First-time home buyers is 3.5 to 5%. So when you're looking at that, if you're buying a $400,000 property, you're putting down the bare minimum is $12,000 to $20,000. That's not much money, right?
Yeah.
Compared to having to put down 25% of that same property, which is $100,000. So you're looking at, that's a big difference, $100K or $25,000. So
Yeah.
your first property, I recommend people to buy a multifamily because you get the best bang for your buck, whether it's a 2 or 3 or 4, and then kind of work your way down. And then after that, potentially buy a single family.
Sure.
But no matter what you buy, you should always buy something that's well within your means. Don't max it out. So
You're almost like convincing me. Like you make it sound very simple. Why do you feel like so many people don't do this?
it's just they don't have the knowledge, I would say, right? So a lot of people I know, family members and friends that I know, they've been in the same situation for years and years and years, and they're just comfortable doing what they're doing, and that's it, and they're okay with that. Me personally, I always strive to maximize everything and how far can I get. So if you want to do something, eventually you're gonna get it. So if you try 10 times, you might fail 3 times, but those other 7 times, you're gonna learn from it, you're gonna grow from it, you're gonna keep going, you know? So sometimes people don't even try. That's my opinion.
And so, at this point, now that you say you have 2 kids, I mean, do you feel like, does having kids make you take your foot a little bit off the gas or put it on the gas even more?
I would say put it on the gas even more.
Yeah.
After I had my 2 daughters, I definitely felt more driven, where I already know for the next 5 years of my life I need to be dedicating to acquiring more assets so that way I can live the life I want to live.
Sure.
So eventually, once I get to a certain level, I'm going to have less things on my plate, as far as I can have a management team and I can kind of outsource things and say, you know, talk to my admin, my secretary, and say, hey, can you take care of these items for me, etc. So instead of me having all these things on my plate, I'm only going to have to take care of 5 big decisions a day. That's the end goal, right?
Sure.
So I'm working hard for the next 5 years because I want to build my team and keep growing, and that way I can dedicate more time to my children later on in life. That's my perspective.
Kind of switching the subject a little bit, but so many of these mentors or financial gurus are always going to mention an LLC. How important is that? Do you have an LLC?
Yeah, I have multiple LLCs. So,
Multiple.
yeah.
Okay, so what is that? Can you explain it simply? Is it just a company?
Yeah,
or-
so an LLC is a limited liability company. There's different ways to structure your company. So you could be a sole prop, LLC, etc. It all depends on what tax benefit you want to have or how many partners you have, etc.
Okay.
That's something you should talk to like a tax person about.
Sure.
It's about the best route.
Yeah.
But an LLC is a good way to be covered and essentially to have a legal and binding business. So anytime I buy properties, I will buy underneath the LLC just to cover myself as an individual. Say if someone slips and falls, they can't come after me personally. They're going to have to come after the LLC and whatever property that LLC owns. So there's different ways to go about doing things.
Interesting. And so if anyone is going to go into real estate, then they should start an LLC first?
No, like I said, there's different extremes, right? So
Okay.
I'm a real estate investor, so I own multiple properties. I need to have LLCs.
Okay.
First, you as an individual, maybe you're going to be buying your first property or your second property, etc. You can own those underneath your own personal name.
Okay.
But for me as an investor, I have too much exposure, too much liability, so I can't have many things in my personal name because there's a lot of sue-happy people, you know? So
Even in New Bedford, you would say?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So.
Do you feel, okay, have you heard any of these, I don't know, rumors or comments negatively towards landlords in New Bedford?
I hear that all the time. I have a buddy of mine, he jokes around with me and he says, oh, you're a slumlord, this and that. But it absolutely couldn't be true, right?
Okay.
Because any of my properties, this is just a rule that I have. Any property that I have, I want to be able to have it in a condition where, let's pretend my daughter is 18 years old or she's going to college or whatever, she wants to become independent and live in one of my properties. She'll be able to live in any of my properties just because the condition is just amazing, right?
Sure.
That's me personally. I take care of my stuff, but people all the time, they have bad reps, and that's just because, the exposure they have. I have a good friend of mine, he has multiple units, over 200, 300 units in the city, and he has a bad reputation just because he has so many properties, right? It's not necessarily his fault, it's just because imagine if you have 300 units, you're dealing with 300 different personalities, 300 different tenants at minimum. That's not including their friends, their family members, their children, right? Not everybody has good habits. Not everyone's going to keep your property clean. I've walked some of his properties and he just fixed them up and the doors are coming off the hinges, right? Or the dogs are eating the trim, or the cats are scratching the trim, etc. So I mean, it's not all on the landlord. Sometimes it is on the tenant, right? And that is also due to property management as well.
I was going to
How
ask,
often do these people walk these properties? Are they serving notices, etc. Right? But like I said, when you have that much exposure, multiple units, it's very difficult to keep track of all that.
Would any landlord who has that much property have a property manager or hire a property management company?
They definitely need to have, I would say after 50 units, you should probably look into getting a property management company.
Does that friend have one?
He has multiple. So he has his own, and then he also has other property management companies that take care of a portion of it.
But even those property managers are too busy in a lot of circumstances?
Like I said, when you get to a certain level, right, it kind of becomes overwhelming. Not saying anything bad about that person, but I'm just giving you an example. That becomes very overwhelming. And also, you got to understand, it's not all that landlord's fault. It could also be the tenant's fault, the tenant's family, friends, etc.
Yeah, there's plenty of difficult tenants. Absolutely.
You could fix a property up, and the next day, the tenant would break the door off the wall, right? Or remove the TV, throw it on the floor, just as an example. Right? I walked the property the other day. I wanted to buy. I was interested in buying it. The price was really good. When I started walking it, I realized what the issue was. The backyard's filled with furniture, mattresses, things like that. I go in the basement. There's raw sewage on the floor and everything. And I'm looking at it, and I see a hammer right next to where the pipe burst. And I'm thinking to myself, I think somebody took a whack at this cast iron and broke it, That's an extreme, People are constantly dealing with, there's a lot of mental health issues, etc. You just never know, right, to a certain situation. So there is extremes.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just, it's so messy. Like, my dad's a landlord, but, I mean, he has, like, one house, I guess, like a 3-family. But even my grandmother, we were at this past, I think for his birthday or Father's Day, we're at Texas Roadhouse, and he's talking about how he raised the prices. I mean, he's had the same 3 families living there for years now, but I think it was like $800 for the longest, and I think he moved it to like $1,100 or $1,200 or something like that, which is still really cheap. But then she was calling him a scumbag, and he's like, I gotta make some money, you know. And then my brother, who also wants to get into real estate, is just saying, trying to explain to my grandmother, like, that's still way cheaper than any place you're gonna find in New Bedford. But I feel like there's so many people like my grandmother who are just going to essentially be anti-landlord or like anti-raising prices for whatever reason, like no matter what.
So you got to be smart about the way you do things. For example, I purchased a property. It was a 3-family, and first and third floor, I've been there for a long time. So third floor, 15 years. First floor, about 5 or 6.
Wow.
Both of them way below market rent. Right. Second floor, I ended up evicting her because she wasn't paying. Right away, I got her out. Third floor was a older person, and she was very nice, very grateful for the fact that right away, as soon as I walked the property, I took care of things before she even mentioned it to me. So you got to be smart about the way you take care of things. So first thing I do when I acquire a property, I throw up notices right away, and I say, hey, this is the new owner of the property, this is my name, this is my number. If you have any issues or problems, give me a call. And I put it in English, Spanish, Portuguese. Then I do a site visit. I talk to them in person. I say, hey, how's it going? I'm the new owner of the property. Just want to know, is there any issues or problems that you're dealing with right now? I just bought this property. I want to take care of it right now. So they might mention things like running toilet, leaky faucet, right? Issues with their appliances, etc. So I take care of those right away. After I take care of all the issues, any problems, then I visit them again and I say, hey, just to let you know, I fixed all these issues right away. If there's ever any issues or problems in the near future, give me a call. I'm here for you. With that being said, in this specific situation, I said, your rent is below 50% market value. So say market value is $1,700. She was at like $800 a month.
Wow.
She had been there for 15 years. Okay. I'm not going to evict her, and she's a good, clean tenant, right? Someone who's respectful, pays rent on time every single month. So I said, market rent $1,700. You are currently paying $800. What should we do about this? Now I put it on them, right?
Okay.
Now I'm not the person that's going in there and saying, hey, by the way, I'm raising your rent to $1,700 just because I said so, and I haven't fixed anything. Right? It's kind of like negotiating and talking to people, making them feel good, like they're in control, right? So now that she came back and she said, well, why don't we do $1,300 a month? And I said, perfect, let's do that.
Okay, great.
I didn't even have to do anything to the apartment. I just raised it up $500, right? I'm not getting the $1,700, okay? But I'm also not evicting a person who's been there for 15 years. She's a clean tenant. She's been there forever, and she's very responsive. She did mention a few things that I took care of before she even told me. Like I said, she said, hey, I have a piloted stove. I got rid of that right away. I put an electric start pilot there, electric start stove. So there's certain things you got to know how to handle certain situations, right? Same thing for the first floor. First floor, the market rent was like $2,000, something like that. And he's been there forever. His was $1,300. I told him, I said, hey, you know, market rent's $2,000. What are we gonna do about this? He said, well, we're gonna keep it at 13. I said, well, I can't do that, right? So with that being said, I fixed all your issues, and he basically gave me another list of things to take care of. Once I mentioned I was gonna raise the rent, no problem. I took care of it, raised the rent, we signed the contract. That's it. Everybody's happy, right?
So to wrap up, we have like a minute left, but you're a really good homeowner, okay, and really responsible, really responsive. Do you think most are, and that the reputation like landlords are getting like is unwarranted, or do you think honestly that you're kind of like a rare breed and we need more homeowners like you?
That's kind of an open-ended question, just because I go into so many houses, right? Just because I'm viewing properties, I'm buying, I'm selling. I see a lot of different things going on. So there is good and there is bad. I'm just thankful that I have a lot of mentors on my side who try and do the best that they can do. Like I said, that person who has 300 units, he does the best he can do, takes care of it. he's on the ball as well. So
Okay.
that's somebody I look up to. That's somebody I want to be like.
Okay.
And I kind of, it's a lot easier for me to take care of 15 units versus
Sure.
300 units. So
Sure.
that's how I view things.
Josiah, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And so I hope everyone learned something. I learned a lot, and I hope you enjoyed it. And definitely reach out to Josiah if you're trying to make a deal. Thank you everyone for watching, and catch us on the next episode. Peace.